We've been working for 3 days, and everyone should be tired, but we have to sustain a few minutes. We have lots of speakers today, and I would like to ask each speaker to present themselves. We decided not to make some long speeches or presentations. We will make it in a kind of a dialogue, live discussion on the theme of digital platforms. What are the growth drivers in terms of rights circulation? What are the intellectual property objects in this field? We've been talking about it during these 3 days. Today we have invited real people who are facing these challenges every day, and they'll talk about their pain honestly. So someone maybe did want quite a dispute. So let's do it. All the topics around this digital environment can be divided in 3 major topics. If someone doesn't agree with me, you can voice it then. The first pillar is the identification of those objects, how to extract them from the huge data. The second pillar is security, how to make it safe. And the third pillar is a market. The only man I'd like to represent today, that is Artem Tobin, my co-moderator. Dear colleagues, good evening. Welcome to our program, Techno Enhancement, so to say. Today we have Valery Drobish, the owner of music startup. It is a very good functioning label, Mikhail Orlov, plus 500, Jean Prosyan, and the representative of the web series. Those are creative people generating wonderful content and help to promote it on the market. And I'd like to hear from the colleagues what drivers of the market do they see? What needs to be done to increase the rights circulation, to increase their revenue? Let's start with Valery Drobish. Could you tell us, maybe you could present us some cases. How does your business work? Good evening, everyone.
Well, I have different cases, but the majority of problems everybody has, they are pretty much the same. So we have authors coming to us. Most of them are very young, and they do not understand how they can register or license or patent anything. They do not understand what the agreement is and why they have to sign it. And then we start talking with them. What is the major problem that we have? The pace, the rate of changes is growing in the musical industry. And if we do not sign the contract we received at the same day or the next day, there is very high probability that somebody else will get this content. It could be a very large label like Universal, Sony, or maybe some independent players on the market. So we always have to find the best way to describe the situation to the young singer, young performer, young rapper who doesn't even speak speak proper language, we have to explain why he or she should sign a huge number of papers and the copies to those papers, and this person in most cases doesn't even want to read anything. It is really hard to work with rappers, and probably they have to read the contracts first instead of their songs. We do try our best to reach an agreement and to explain all the rules of the game to those young artists and performers. But the current trend is that young people with whom our colleagues from Enrix and IPEX deal, they find it easier not to sign the actual real paper. It's much easier for them to just to push a button and to have all of their content and all they need somewhere online. And every day I face the situation when I ask for some data, and those young authors, they get frustrated because they do not want to give even their passport or ID data. And it's really hard to explain to them that there is no other way we can start working with them. They just try to use their fingers and the application of fingerprint reading. And they do not understand how the old ways work. And that's the problem we have to find a solution to. It's getting harder and harder. Every day we have to spend a lot of time onto explaining how it should work. And that's probably the reason why out of 10 people we can sign contract only with half of them. And probably we need to find a solution that would be up to date so that young people could understand it. We need to decrease the circulation of documents around the sign-in process so that it would be much easier to understand to young artists. Yeah, well, we all know that this generation is called a big thumb generation. And I am, as a representative of the innovative environment, I wholeheartedly support this movement. I do not like reading huge agreements. And probably my next question I'm going to address to Mikhail Orlov. You do show that other people have filmed. You earn money doing that. How did you reach an agreement with the authors of the content? How did you manage to do it so that everybody is happy? Because you built your name, your reputation using the content created by other people. Well, the whole situation of the authors of the UGC content is not that simple. Our model is quite easy to understand. Somebody sends us the video content. If we like it, we take it and we thank everybody. Some people want money. Some people share their content for free. But we have situations when somebody sends the content created by somebody else, and they ask us to use it. And the situation here is quite dramatic. For example, we create a program, we upload to video hosting, and then on the content ID, we receive a strike or claim. And people say that we had the cameraman, we had the directors, we had the screen playwright, and you use our content, and it turns that we are working for free. So we do have problems, but it is really hard to prove that your author's copyright, even if the person has uploaded a video online, it's impossible to prove that he or she is the actual author of this video. And I do understand that it's very complicated to contact everybody and to double check the information. I do that, but when I tried to work with the people, some of them say that a single video would cost 1,000 USD. Just for UGC content, which we use in huge numbers for our program. So I will need to pay $4,000 to create one program, just for the video in that program. And you know that it is quite a large number for the online programs, and you cannot return your investments just using the advertising. So there are some solutions, but they're still quite expensive, and unfortunately we cannot afford it at the moment, and we do not create the content that could help us return our investments. And of course, everything has to be reasonable and logical. We have learned from our American colleagues. There is such a company as Maker Studio. They started creating video content for YouTube. They have a very large base of the authors, and then they sold that to Disney company for $2 billion. And we actually went to the US to learn from those people. They did everything very well. They have digital signatures. But returning to the issue of young singers' performance or rap performance, well, you do have to create a platform that would be easy to use for your performance, for people you work with. It is not going to be too hard to do, and that would be the best way to explain to them. But of course, the issue here is whether the digital signature is legitimate at the moment, whether all the authorities recognize it. So we need to double check that. We do have a lawyer in the audience. We will ask him about it a bit later. So the question is to you, when you are going to have a contract with Disney company? Well, unfortunately, we have already lost that opportunity. Probably you haven't been a very good student from that Maker Studio. Well, I must say that it is time for new challenges. We have plans. I'm not going to share them with you yet. It's going to be something very interesting. We would go for a smarter audience. Well, I do remember what you have in your program, and when you say that you need a smarter audience, that's something that makes me laugh. Well, yeah, sometimes we are a bit ashamed of what we do. But when we do talk about the audience we work with and the authors we work with, well, we have to see that our audience... Actually, I've got a question for the audience. What's the age group? Is the major part of our audience, or the audience of our program? We have a version of 25-35. No, it is the wrong answer. We have people from 18 to 30. So when we talk about that funny trash content, Those are young people watching it, but those people, they study in the universities, they work, so they are full-fledged members of our society. And then we went with our program on TV, and we must say the audience is even older there. And so we have a grown-up audience.
Sorry for interrupting, but I'd like to give the floor to the other participants. So what your concern is that the gathering of the content, the regulatory framework to send, to digitalize all the documents, to let them sign just by one click. I heard about digital signatures that would something which would enable us to process the content faster. Another issue are the web series. Jean, could you tell us about what's going on in your area? What drugs are you taking to relieve your pain, so to say? I'm not only making serials, but I'm also representing some other web platforms. Shortly, you film a short video, you post it on the YouTube, and then you dream of creating an exclusive web platform. And this is the way to the web series. The key issue is the cross-platform. A digital platform can be YouTube, Instagram, or something else. And if you have managed to agree major things with them, but then your contact gets across to the other digital environment, but you don't have lawyers, and you are just a small businessman, and that is what makes us lots of problems, what makes us lots of trouble. We are just a small cross-platform. How do we survive when our content is being copied to the other digital environments? The problem is, okay, we can agree the things with YouTube or another provider. And we have mentioned the problems of the 13 years girl. And today we have managed the reading wrapper, but such wrappers are the drivers for the creation of these new platforms. We have mentioned all the Yandex memorandum, but it doesn't actually function in a proper way. How should we pose some ideas? And so what about the 13 years girl? A 13 years girl abandons YouTube because it gets too complicated for her. This is actually the major part of the audience of YouTube, 13 years teens. This is our major problem. And our content is more expensive than blogger content, but it is less expensive than the Game of the Thrones, for instance. So there is a platform. It doesn't matter how it works, and we are just getting a part from the subscription, drawing on the time which the subscriber has spent on the platform. This is what I'm dreaming of. We are also dealing with news and reviews. Such a digital environment provides Apple News. We can verify our activity there, and we can get also a share of these revenues. And we are allowing our partner to come to us to post their content and get a part of the share from us. The platforms like Yandex.Zен and others, they are not quite transparent. When I scroll the display, I earn something on that. But when they post ads borrowing just one part from my contacts, then I don't get anything from this. When I'm scrolling Yandex.Zen, Yandex.Zen offers my content, but I don't get any share of the revenue from them, because I'm getting something when there was a click on my content. And that's what makes up your major concern. So the safety of the content, the distribution of the content, and the management of your catalogs. And here you need a comprehensive system how to track all this. The digital platform in our country, once in our country, it will come down to Yandex, though it is quite sad to state this, especially from the perspective of the antitrust authorities. We are forced to make tuber pages, and this the revenues are a bit higher, but it won't take much time. And they take from us the opportunity to earn money, because there is no transparent algorithm to the Yandex.Zen. I don't understand how it works. And for us, the independent media, that is a digital platform. I'm drafting content. I'm investing my time into it. I want to earn money on it. I could continue on that for a long time, but I think that I have got my main idea across.
Well, if we're talking about sharing the content, its distribution, protection, and about the signing of the agreements, probably the most important problem in this connection would be the problem of the identification of the users who are actually concluding the deals. And the problems we have here are connected with the clearance of the content and of the rights to that content. And I would like to refer my question and to ask Mikhail to talk to us about it. Okay, one mic will be more than enough for me. So if we talk about the identification, it is a crucial issue in many industries, not only in the digital one and not only in the IP management. It is also a major issue when you're working with banking products and when you need a customer identification in any internet online shop. But you need the identification of different depth and scrutiny. So when we understand what exactly we need, we can get the better picture of the world. So at the moment, the government makes some efforts to solve these issues. There are very convenient services we can use. It is not widely available at the moment, but banks can work with it. and they can use the data of actual people, not only the companies. And if we have any record of this person, we could be sure that it is the person we are talking about and we are talking to. But once again, that is not widely spread and not commonly used at the moment, but you can find a way of using it. And you can register your users there, and you can double check that it is the one, once again. And the second solution is also that is used in the banking systems. It allows our customers to give his or her biometrics. They can actually be recognized in all the other points of Sberbank. But Sberbank is the only bank working on it. So that's not only fingerprints. There is also a technology of facial recognition, of voice recognition. But this is the main bank of our country, and it has all the personal information it needs. But here in the digital sphere, we have a different situation. Well, the bank I was talking about, that was just an example what can be done. And everybody here probably has a card issued by that bank. But the mechanism I'm talking about, any customer is coming to a bank, and any bank, if it has and uses these services, he can get the information of that customer. But here we have the issue of cooperation between different platforms. That would be the major problem, as well as data portability. But the solution still is there, and it's quite reasonable and logical. Well, you do understand who ends up ending and being the owner of those digital platforms. Of course, I do understand. It's going to be our state. My question is regarding the security and protection. Well, we all do remember the scenes from the movies when a person I didn't get somebody's eyes and just put it on the ball pen, and that's why he could pass any security, because the security implies the iris screening. Well, for now, we don't have such problems. And this system has not been compromised yet in real life. And we, of course, understand that nobody is going to tear out somebody's eyes. Well, let's take the easier situation, an example from life. I've seen a video where a twin of a person can unblock the cell phone of another person to use the Sberbank application on that phone. Well, for now, facial identification and recognition uses the same algorithms that were created several years ago, and it has nothing to do with the bank. It is the problem of the algorithm in the phone and how secure they are. That's the question to the mobile phones producers. Some of the things are very convenient, like iris screening, for example, but others are not that easy to use and do not give such good results. But if we get back to the security and protection, it is not the issue of technology we use. Nobody is going to copy your fingertips. The thing is that all the information is then encoded. And all the personal information, including fingerprints, your voice, your facial features, they are encoded somehow. And if the villains or ill-willed people, they want to do something with that, they will, unless we do not protect the digital form of this information. And the possibility that this will happen is quite real. I've got a question. I'm very much interested in this. So we have our biometric data. Somebody is hacking the database of Sberbank and gets all those biometric data. What can be done? Because this database connects all your personal information, and you can do whatever you want having it. Because banks of other countries use the same information. Well, that's a very good question, and that's a very relevant topic. But at the moment, we're talking about the adding some dynamic dimension to the static information. How to do it exactly? Well, we don't know yet. We're still talking about it, and there hasn't been widely spread. There are some leakages of information, regardless of all the measures were taken. Bank, of course, cannot get your information and just send it somewhere to the unknown destination. There are certain strict requirements which bank has to meet and fulfill. And the risks are minimal, but they do exist. The threat exists that anybody actually can get this same equipment that a bank needs to get your personal information. They would get all your biometric parameters, probably even without you knowing about it. Well, do I understand it correctly that any rap performer would like to earn some money is going to have an account in a bank, and so this rapper would still get the opportunity to use his fingerprints to prove his identity or her identity? Yes. And that's a very good bridge between finances and technological sides of our life. And yeah, we do have the opportunity to fulfill this procedure within minutes without having to go anywhere, without having to give your actual signature. Yeah, we are working on this platform here. We're talking about finances, technology, legal issues. Then we are talking about some regulations, and now we have fintech, legtech, etc., etc.
So everything is being done for a client, for a customer. As for the regulatory side, Irina, can you say, okay, we have created a platform, it is ready for monetizing and go into the space? Are there regulatory enough regulatory basis for it? I'm very pleased to be here among my colleagues. It has been said so much on that. At the previous session, I wanted actually every time to ask who are we bearing actually. And here I see so pleasant faces, and as long as we are struggling here and the generation of the TAM doesn't know how to read documents, it is very complicated to create the new digital environments, and where young rappers do struggle how to live in this traditional environment, how to deal with this traditional life. And ice-breaking environment, ice-breaking decision was the creation of a law concerning the digital rights and digital signatures from October 1st, 2019. I'll read it for the speakers who raised concerns about it. Although from November the 1st, 2019, the requirement is regarded as fulfilled if it is means to identify the person who signed a document electronically. Important is not the signature. Important is to identify the party signed. And now there is an issue of the dissemination of the register information. So the legislation should be adjusted in this way. And as for the license agreements, the procedure should be made easier, and other issues. As we have here the representatives from the creative area, so our legislation, our initiatives in legislation is aimed at making the life for creative people easier to make deals in the creative environment, in the digital environment, through the IP chain technologies, because it is already possible to make agreements this way. And for the rappers who are not keen on reading, there is a technology such legal design. They may take a look into it. So if you exercise a creative approach to this digital environment, you can end up with space technologies. Okay, the legislation is maybe not up to speed with what's going on, but only the praxis of the digital agreements will give more leeway for the legislation to adjust their work. And the creative industry is now on the edge of the digitalization. And I think a lot has been done already. I can imagine that we could have a kind of a rap battles where they are talking about signing the agreements and the digital environment. We have a remark from the audience. Are you a rapper? A young rapper? Let's take Pakhmutova and Dobrandramov, two names and hundreds of musical pieces. And modern rapper, maybe they have only a couple of musical works. No modern technology, regardless of how you are doing it, will help the industry make agreements with rappers, because they are not only not keen on reading, they are not keen on anything at all. They are not interested in anything actually. So all those technologies won't bring you any further, but actually they want money. Otherwise, they won't be able to gain their share. We have talked about regulatory issues, and so we have Vadim here. You will tell us about how many years you have spent on the market developing software for broadcasting companies.
I'm from Prolog company, and I have a presentation prepared, but I would like you to see just one slide out of the entire presentation. So just a picture. Some technical issues which are looking just like a product placement here of the company in media rights revolution. This is a standard way how the shares distribution in a label looks. So when you receive a sum, it is shared between the performers and other right holders and sub-publishers. Then we have people who actually have the rights for performance, and then they pay their royalties to somebody else within the label. And this scheme is quite complicated, as you can see. So when you are signing a contract, an agreement with a rep performer, these people, these performers, they need to understand how the money they are going to receive and to earn from selling their rights somewhere in the digital sphere, how they are going to receive those money. So if we take a look at the structure of the licensing agreements, we see that there are not only copyright or neighboring rights sold. We sell also the piece of work and the ways of its usage. And so the licensing agreement is extremely complicated. So for this type of usage, you can the money received are going to be shared and redistributed like that. And from another way of usage, they are going to be distributed in completely different way. And so the authors do need to understand this information because this influences their income. So we need to do this kind of schemes for making it transparent for the authors how they make their living and how they earn. But of course, we knew that the author can come and take a look at the contract and understand. Well, that is not the problem. What you said, I completely agree with that. But when we're talking about performers, we are mostly talking about those who earn quite a lot and who've been in this industry for quite a while. But I am talking about a bit different situation. If we have our young performer L1 who is releasing a new single and he wants to earn quite a lot because he's spending quite a lot and investing into video, for example. But I am talking not about this kind of performance. I'm talking about the young people who are writing quite a lot and they can write an entire album within 1 week. That is the public I'm dealing with, and that is my difficulty. Out of 20 or 30 people, there is only one who is going to listen to me at all. He would say, yeah, I understand you completely. But then he's asking, like, will I have a web page? And I'm trying to explain how he or she is going to earn money, how they will be distributed. Well, yeah, this is the issue of education most of all. We need to teach them how to read the agreements, what they have to pay attention to. Yeah, we need to make a manual for dummies and do or die. What will happen if you do not do this? Yeah, that's a very interesting topic. That's a topic of the education of the small businesses and how we can teach them what rights they have and how they can use these rights and how they can sell these rights. And that's a very, very interesting domain. And the ideas and aspirations of these young people to have their own official page in a networking website, a social networking website, is quite understandable. Yes, the problem is big. We do have large labels, and they actually spoiled young artists. And those young performers who are now signing an agreement, they do not take any effort, make any effort to understand what is written in those agreements. And they do not think and understand what happens to the money that there is a certain amount needed to be paid to, for example, Apple Store or to some other distributor. And what the big labels do, they just give a lump sum, an advance payment, and that's all the author gets. But he or she spends this advanced payment and then just goes on tour to promote the album or the single. But we need to find a way to explain to young artists and performers that you need to sign an agreement and you need to understand how your money will be distributed within the label and outside it. And you need to understand how much you are going to earn. Yes, we need to find the way to show the artists the ways the income flows are going. Probably we should draw the same scheme. Yes, everything we're talking about, those are quite a features of platforms. Yeah, I know you have something prepared for us.
Now everyone is talking about that we are going to construct a spaceship, and today is the day of the space research in Russia, and now we could get on a spaceship, a virtual spaceship, and lots has been thought about the need to build up facilities like IPEX, for instance. It is not quite ready yet. Maybe it is ready in September. But talking about the barriers, this service provides a tool for rights owners and for buyers by means of a visual constructor for agreements. It is able, due to IP chain infrastructure, to conclude legal agreements. It is possible to sign agreements by means of electronic signature. It is a kind of a spaceship suitable for owners' rights and neighboring rights. So the young rapper comes and clicks on his iPhones and just can get money onto his account. Now I'll show you this video clip explaining everything. Professional platform for deals of any complexity. unlimited possibilities, individual creations, ideas, concepts, the opportunity to gain high profits, the means to monetize your objects of intellectual property. It is easy to upload your musical work on this platform. It is easy to track the processing of your works using the object ID. After you have gotten any buyers, after your product has been sold, you'll get a notification and money on your account. Here you have all the information about the objects for sale. There are lots of parameters which you can adjust for your convenience. So it is not possible to falsify any objects which are being processed through this platform. After you have concluded the agreement, the document is encrypted through IP chain. IPEX is a platform for direct contacts, enabling direct contacts without any intermediaries.
Well, back to that 13-year-old girl from YouTube. Well, say a couple of words. Tell us your impressions. Well, maybe we will ask somebody else to say. So you have talked about different demands. Does this information meet your demands? Well, it looks well. Would you like to add anything? No, I wouldn't like to try anything, but I would like to try it. Yes, you will be able to try it really soon. But now you can go to ipix.global and you can subscribe to the news information, and probably to those who will subscribe, who will be the first to subscribe, probably they will be able to use this service first. Yes, this is really wonderful. We've been thinking about it as of a future that is far, far away from us, but now we can see that we are living right in it. Well, IPEX is just a fragment of all the huge toolbox we have in our market of the intellectual property. And here we have Andrei Krichevsky, the president of IP Chain Association. Andrei, would you give your comments? First of all, I would like to ask about the term you're using, nativachka, which means, well, native advertisement. Well, Jean was quite negative about it. I'm sorry, it is really hard to say comments without microphone. So I'm not going to talk about different elements and fragments of architecture of the market, but I feel like I'm very, very old and ancient. Well, first of all, the 100 and 500 been shown to me by a friend of mine. I've been telling him how awful it is. Valeria had told me about beats and young rappers, and I told him that is awful and it's nothing interesting in it. But then we heard about web series. We'd been offered a project, and I also refused. So probably Studio Soyuz and Melodia Company are the closest to me. But do you remember the whole notion of the agreement? It just says what you have to do and what the other party has to do. And long time ago, there were agreements signed by blood or with blood. And now we know that in 2020, we are going to have those biometric passports. And those passports with not just biometric but genetic information would be pretty much the same as signing with blood. Yeah, if you kiss the screen, that will be your signature. Yeah, but everything is really interesting, and it's a pleasure to hear such a lively discussion. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, we have a question here. What about content ID? Is there a place for it in this system? We have seen something interesting right now, and so you showed me something interesting. So the system you showed us, it looks like it could solve at least a part of issues we have. But I'm very interested if the ID content system would include the information on fingerprints or whatever it will be. When will it start working? Well, if we talk about audio-visual content, we do have work. And then we are still also working with Antiplagiarism, working with us in a pilot project of work with texts. IPEX is not the actual owner of this platform. The owner is Enris, who provides the protection for their right owner. And IPEX is just the consumer of this content out of that system. And we are not wasting our efforts on such a resource-consuming system. You've seen that it's a very serious development, and we use partnership solutions. We cooperate with different companies. Well, in our case, we work with Content ID in terms of music and video, but you want to get Content ID on other platforms, not on your own. So we are now existing in the market conditions, and we are all the players of the same market. And the wider your products are spread and distributed, the more money you get. So your task is, when you get your Content ID, to be supported by something else. For example, we have identified our content on YouTube, but we have two problems. The first one is that we cannot monitor the entire YouTube. We will not have this opportunity. Well, I've got plenty of questions here. But the first one is, I am ready to buy content from all of my users. I ask my audience to upload their works, and they like it and they enjoy it and everybody is happy. But now all of them is trying to set the price they are going to sell at. But then I see that one and the same work is being uploaded by 20 people. Well, what I heard that IPEX has longer fingerprints.
IPEX lives in the IP chain environment, and sooner or later it will soak up the information of all intellectual property objects, that the rights owner will understand that it's quite convenient and the meta information can be stored through IP chain, but as a IPEX user from the part of the buyer, you'll see that there is clear content. It is cleared through IP chain, and all the requirements are met. You are forgetting to say that the trick by IP chain is that you cannot upload two identical objects. And this is your space technique objects cannot work without this IP chain infrastructure. It's a little bit sad if we are talking about such a case like Vasya Pupkin has uploaded a video about his activities. For instance, he has filmed some drunk people. But in fact, this video has been made by another author, like Alexei Nipukin, for instance. And on the whole, it is clear I can upload my video and earn money on that, but he cannot upload it through IP chain because there is already a sample stored there. It will merge in one object. No, it is possible to upload information for the second time, but there will be not two different objects. It will be one object. Two objects will merge. And how much do you take for it? Let's end up this discussion first. Money for what? What is the model to earn money on transactions? The policy is so we don't plan to take any percentage, any share from the revenues a young rapper can make, for instance. And IP chain is actually free. Alexander Bachkov, Soyuz Studio. It is a great idea in terms of that it makes lots of time free. The young rappers don't need to read any complicated documents like taxation, regulations, or something else. How do you intend to attract young people, young rappers? You have a marketing budget. If they should they come to you, it would be a great platform, and I'll buy their content there. and I will recommend it further. It would be convenient for me. But there is only a share of the market, right? The buyers are, of course, I can speak on behalf of the production of the advertising agency. Just a couple of comments. There is a number of platforms, leading platforms in terms of the owner rights and neighboring rights. There are platforms today, and the owners of the platforms are asking, we want to convert these internet users who are uploading their content. I will name these platforms by now. We want to make them to the right owners, but in a soft, transparent way. We want to create any additional barriers so that they, through these digital technologies, they can become rights owners. And we, as a platform, take a share of the revenues, of their revenues. So a couple of leading big platforms are ready to participate in this project. Yeah, we have Valeria here. He could comment. He could comment on that.
So we heard yesterday that VK, it's a Russian social net website, is going to create a platform for uploading some content. There would be both digital platform and mini label, mini record company. Well, it's not actually true, because there will be a conflict of interest between the different labels, because the VK is just a platform for placing content by Boom Company, which is a subsidiary of the VK company. And this Boom Company is an aggregator which has a direct contracts with different labels. And if they start doing what you just told us about, well, they're going to cause a lot of trouble for them. Well, that's just what I've heard, that they are going to create a platform for young artists. No, I've discussed this issue with them. What they say is that they are trying to kind of organize the UGC content we have and to provide all the labels with it. Since we have new performers coming to our platform every day. And after that, we will find the ways of monetizing through our Boom company. But it's not going to work as a record company, as a label. They just want to arrange UGC. That's it. Well, it's very interesting to get a look at the contract. And the share of rights they are going to purchase. Of course, they are signing contracts with young authors. Why wouldn't they ask those young authors to sign the contract for publication and synchronization? Well, those label agreement I've just told you about are in their way. Well, we know that any big company has a tendency to change the rules of the game. That happens everywhere.
Но, да. А вот сюда можно положить, и там, возможно, какой-то лейбл меня заметит, проинвестирует мне клик, проинвестирует как бы за права и все понесет.
Ну, смотри, да.
Нет,
А релиз когда?
Ну и в целом, если брать другие сферы, то, как правило, срабатывает сетевой эффект. Самый простой пример, на котором легко объяснять, это, собственно, такси. Мы все помним еще, когда мы поднимали руки, звонили по телефону, и другого средства связи с такси, вызова такси у нас не было. Потом появился Uber и Яндекс, и изначально ведь таксисты забунтовали, потому что стоимость поездки внутри Яндекса была, внутри Uber на тот момент, была гораздо ниже. Но из-за того, что это было удобно пользователям, пользователи пошли туда. И пользователей стало там больше. Соответственно, обиженные таксисты развернулись, подумали, ну зачем? У меня срок время простоя сокращается, поток пассажиров увеличивается, ну, значит, я готов снижаться по стоимости. Тот самый сетевой эффект сработал, и теперь мы, наверное, все, да, имеем и Uber, и Яндекс приложение. Плюс еще появился каршеринг как альтернатива и тому, и тому. Я имею в виду владение собственного автомобиля и этим самым агрегатором. То есть, ну, видимо, идентичные примеры и приемы стратегии развития цифровых платформ коллеги будут использовать. Right?
Right.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right now.
Друзья,
Спасибо,
мне кажется,
Ян.
мы вообще можем... Мы задали такой формат, что нам не хватает шампанского, я не знаю, чего-либо еще, в расслабленной такой обстановке весь вечер... можно нам, кстати, да? К сожалению, нет. У нас еще и время подошло, к сожалению, к концу. Артем, я считаю, надо.
Ром с собой
Ром?
Прям,
да, прямо
здесь?
сейчас, да.
О,
Ну.
пора заворачиваться.
В связи с этим вопросом, бывает цыганский рэперский хор?
Цыганский рэперский хор. Я недавно...
Шампанского.
Я недавно видел цыганский детский лагерь, куда можно детей приглашать.
Подождите, я видел здесь, по-моему, на форуме румынское телевидение. Оно,
Близко
тут
к этому,
интервью у кого-то брал на днях. Мне кажется, там можно и про цыганский вот, рэперский хор спросить.
Сейчас нас цензура вынесет.
Можно рассказать на один буквально вопрос?
Это хорошо.
Про мягкую цифровизацию. То есть,
Мягкая цифровизация. Длинный фингерпринт. Мягкая цифровизация. Ютубовская девочка.
только сегодня породили классных концертов.
Обогатились.
Мне кажется, давайте писать следующую программу. То есть, грубо говоря, рано или поздно вы так классно интегрируетесь с соцсетями, что загружая свою фотку, я автоматом буду получать на нее цифровое право. К этому вы стремитесь, я правильно понимаю?
Это называется бесшовная.
Бесшовная.
Ну, на будущее. Хотя мягкая тоже right.
Да, ну, к этому стремиться. Потому что бороться, вот теперь парируя тему, что Яндекс станет всем, но не факт. На самом деле... Да, я думаю, что все станет печином и надстройка над ним. Вот, как-то так.
Или под ним.
Причем Андрей сейчас удивился. Дам интервью румынскому телевидению о цыганском рэпере-хоре.
Такой еще вопрос, да, вот какое взаимодействие у вот электронного фиксирования права и у как бы реальной бумажки?
Переадресую вопрос Ирине, симпатичный блондин, который сидит прям
Что ж так под конец-то, да? Уже Андрей собирался уходить, но пришлось остаться.
Но мы решили бесшовно перейти, все-таки закончить блондин.
Ну, в силу того, что да, при мягком переходе к цифровой среде, рано или поздно все будет в цифре. Просто в данный момент, разумеется, идет стык бумаги и цифровой среды, и говорить о том, что бумагу полностью отменили и она не нужна, наверное, преждевременно, потому что даже ментально общество пока не готово, особенно в России, идти таким, скажем так, кардинальным методом оформления документов. Но однозначно будущее это цифра.
На конкретном примере. Вот Миша снял ролик, залил его к ребятам на платформу, а я у Миши украл флешку и пошел ее задепонировал условно в раут, я не знаю. И вот как нам быть? Извиняюсь. Да,
Норм.
Да, Миша будет плакать, попробует найти исходники и задепонировать тоже уже.
Миша заявил раньше меня на платформе, а я побежал, как бы бумажечку подписал.
Ты
А
медленней,
RAW является
Миша.
узлом IP-чейн и дает
Да.
информацию о IP-чейн, где опять же отобразится транзакция, конфликт.
Да.
Все,
Еще будут учить честности вообще.
Да, это же цифровая среда
кстати,
доверия, да.
Образовательный проект потом
Вот,
запускаем.
кстати, по поводу конфликта, каким образом будет решаться? Ну, то есть,
Хороший вопрос.
Ну,
это,
есть,
как бы
есть
это понятно. Вот, то есть, какого рода, да, как будет рассматриваться вообще, насколько готовы наши суды, ну, то есть мне вот интересно.
готовые. И более того, как говорится, в любом случае при наличии такой экосистемы однозначно один из сервисов будет предусматривать медиативную историю, чтобы площадка могла давать возможность сторонам обсудить досудебно какой-то кейс. И
Еще и онлайн. причем.
Онлайн, да. При этом, например, заключение, которое будет даваться медиатором, оно либо будет для сторон достаточным, либо какая-то из сторон сможет приложить его в своих судебных документах как некое экспертное заключение, уже полученное на независимой платформе. То есть в любом случае медиативные истории будут, и как бы это логично, и суды однозначно также будут интегрироваться.
А онлайн-инструмент тоже ваш.
Я думаю, что мы сделаем сервис. Сейчас есть перспектива сделать диспут
У нас
онлайн.
в аудитории
Да,
сидел
есть
до недавнего времени
руководитель проекта.
представитель дружественной Индии.
А, да.
Они как раз платформу RDO сделали, это онлайн dispute resolution. Есть чехи, не менее интересные, есть итальянцы, они тоже, кстати, здесь ходят. Вот, так что то, что Ирина говорит, оно уже существует, но адаптируется сейчас на Россию. Вот, кстати, справа от вас человек, который этим занимается, нет.
Тоже чем-то занимается.
Да.
Вот. Так что с судами все так или иначе решится, они уже принимают блокчейн как доказательство на уровне факсов, там, имейлов, прочего. Ну, главное не доводить это до суда, надо вот именно техническими средствами не допускать появления вот этих двойников.
Как это,
да.
добрым словом, пистолетом гораздо...
Да, вот вообще.
Самое интересное, что о чем тогда все были предыдущие 3 дня? Неужели об инструментах IPQuorum вообще не рассказывали, да? Коллеги ведь спрашивают.
Зачем? Артем сегодня все придумал.
Ну что ж,
День космонавтики. Надо.
финалочка нативочки. А наша программа «Вечерняя нативочка» подошла к концу. С вами был Артем Тобин и Антон Пронин. Благодарим наших гостей сегодняшних за участие и увидимся в следующем эфире.
В следующих сериях техно вдуть.
Спасибо.
Спасибо.
Открываем передачу.